What's up, internet? Welcome back to another exciting episode of Nigel's Critiques and Stuff. I'm your host, Nigel. Gonna be taking a look back at all the stuff I've been watching this week. And today we're gonna be giving you my thoughts on Thor, Love and Thunder. Now, if you can't tell from my previous critiques, I am a huge Marvel fan, so I've been looking forward to getting this one done. Now, make sure you stick around all the way till the end of this one, because I got a special little post-credit surprise for you. So be sure to go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button now for me. Alright, let's get to it. So here we are, jumping back into the Marvel Cinematic Timeline, and from the jump, we've got Korg filling us in on the story of Thor Odinson and really catching us up to speed and filling in the gaps on what's been happening since Avengers Endgame. And I mean, straight away, it just automatically feels like a Taika Waititi production. You can just smell his writing style and, of course, a bit of his cheesiness all throughout this movie. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm a huge fan of Taika, and his comedic take works in some instances. It's just that being a real fan of Thor from the comics, I don't really want to see a dumbed down version of Thor for an entire flick. Or at least not this dumbed down.
What? Just listening.
I mean, Thor Ragnarok really was a hilarious movie, but the comedy worked for a lot of different reasons. You've got the love-hate dynamic between Thor and Loki. You've got Thor's reconnection with Hulk and finding out he's actually got more to his vocabulary than just saying Hulk smash. And really watching the two of them bond over trying to figure out who's the strongest Avenger, it's lots of good ass-whooping scenes there. And you've also got a great supporting cast of characters like the Grandmaster played by Jeff Goldblum and the introduction of Korg, who's voiced by Taika Waititi. Now, my biggest complaint overall with Thor Love and Thunder is that it's just trying way too hard to be as funny as Ragnarok was. Especially when the premise of the movie really has a much darker tone. Like, you've got Gore the God Butcher played by Christian Bale, and he's this major, powerful bad guy who's successfully killing off gods left and right. And he's kidnapped all these kids and got them locked away in his shadow realm. And then on top of that, we've got poor Jane Foster over here dying of cancer, but still trying to put on a happy face because she's got work to do as the mighty Thor. And all the while, it's like you can't really go 2 minutes in this movie without some kind of joke or comedic reference, and it just feels like they used a focus group comprised of all first graders to critique this movie and give it the green light. I mean, even Chris Hemsworth himself said that the movie feels like it was made for a 7-year-old. And that is exactly what I call the Disney curse. Especially as a serious fanboy who grew up on the actual Marvel comic books, we still kind of expect the watering down or the kidification of certain Marvel movies from time to time. And don't get me wrong, I'm not a completely heartless bastard. I like a good wholesome family flick every now and again, maybe every other Christmas or so. But the real meat of these storylines isn't always going to be for the 12 and under crew, because Marvel's got some serious adult themed storylines that we really deserve to see come to life on the big screen. But you gotta understand, Thor is a cosmic Viking, for Christ's sake. And here we've got Disney over there trying to turn him into a swashbuckling Jack Sparrow, the Asgardian space pirate. And even the brief appearance of the Guardians of the Galaxy at the beginning of the movie didn't feel like the Guardians that we know and love. Because I was like, what cartoony multiverse did these knockoffs come from? And where's the real Star-Lord hiding at? Because this backseat driver they got in this movie sure as hell ain't him. Now, another thing about Love and Thunder, they try to give some explanations on why Jane's been missing in action for all these years, but it's kind of like the final season of Game of Thrones, where it's just rushed through. And you're lucky if you get a one-liner here and there that's supposed to clear up decades and decades of storyline. Like when they reintroduce her into the mix, it basically jumps from her getting chemo treatments to all of a sudden she's traveled all the way to New Asgard to visit the remaining shards of Mjolnir. And then later on in the movie, you do get a quick flashback scene of Thor telling Mjolnir to always look out for Jane and protect her. But I mean, it just could have been better explained that there was a pre-existing connection between Jane and the hammer. Now, I am glad we do get another chance to see Jane Foster one last time, because aside from Lady Sif, she always has been Thor's one true love, and it's continuously been a bit of a Shakespearean tragedy for these two. I mean, they parted ways on not the best of terms. Then Jane got blipped out of existence for 5 years, so when they do meet back up again, it's like 3 years for her, but 8 or 9 years for Thor. And then they meet up under the craziest of circumstances you can imagine, only to find out that she's dying of cancer and there's no way to save her. Now, moving on to the big baddie of the movie, Christian Bale, definitely hands down one of my all-time favorite actors. He's in the movie as Gorr the God Butcher. Now, a bit of background on Gorr from the comics. Gorr was born on a no-name planet where the people were literally on the brink of starvation each and every day. But they were taught to put their faith and trust in the gods, and one day they would be rewarded and reach salvation. Now, after a lifetime of watching his people perish and die, and still praying to these gods who never answered any of their prayers, Gorr is just like, fuck this shit. So he renounces the gods and he gets kicked out of his starving little village cause, blasphemy and all. But one day as he's roaming through the desert, there's this huge blast from the sky, and it's these two elder gods who were duking it out, and they fell down to earth in the battle. Now, one of them just so happened to be a gold armored god that Gorr and his people had worshipped for years, but the other one was an elder god known as Null. Now, for you serious Marvel historians out there, yes, this was the same Null who created all of the symbiotes, like Venom. And this was how Gorr originally got his powers in the comics, was from Null and the Necro Sword. And they do give you a similar interpretation in the movie when Gorr renounces all the self-righteous gods and the Necro Sword chooses him as its champion. And he vows from that point on that all gods must die. It's like you really just want to see this guy team up with Kratos and run around the universe doing what they do. Now, in my opinion, Christian Bale makes a great, creepy-looking interpretation of Gorr the God Butcher. And as much as I kinda just want to see him as the Dark Knight, he definitely makes a great villain as well. But here you have all this potential with a truly devastating baddie, but throughout the movie, he never really feels that threatening. And even the climactic final battle with him wasn't on the scale of any other climactic final battles in the MCU that we've seen so far. I mean, throughout Ragnarok, you really feel threatened and afraid of Hela. And that final battle scene between her and the Asgardians, and then Surtur popping up, was really an epic fucking battle. And unfortunately, the final showdown between Gorr and Thor was just sort of anticlimactic for me. I mean, it's actually a bit of a tearjerker as Thor spends his last few moments with Jane in his arms, and they finally get Gorr to see that love was all he really wanted from the get-go. But the overall mood was just a bit melancholy and didn't really give you a sense of accomplishment at the end. Plus, another huge downside for me was now that Christian Bale was finally in the MCU, there are so many amazing characters that he could have played, like the Beyonder, or Doctor Doom, or even Mephisto. And I really wanted him to be one of the characters that will stick around for a few more movies and not just be here for a one and done type of character. But in classic Marvel form, there are some really great VFX and amazing action sequences all throughout this movie. So there's no disappointment in that department. And there is a really neat scene near the end where Thor shares his powers with all the kids that Gore the God Butcher had kidnapped. And they're all zapped up on God powers and kicking ass and taking names like they're all on a massive sugar rush from hell. There's also a really cute dynamic between Thor and Stormbreaker, where Stormbreaker is like this jealous lover whenever Mjolnir is around. And it really does play out in some really funny scenes. So, as a true Marvel fan, this is a movie worth watching, but it's not like you gotta rush out to the theaters and waste your $18 on it. Because this is definitely something you can wait until it pops up on your favorite streaming network. And for that reason, I'm giving it a 1 thumb and a Netflix and chill. So those are my thoughts on Thor Love and Thunder. Now, before you get out of here, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button for me. And also be sure to head over to urbanebachelor.com for some really cool lifestyle articles and stuff. Now, I promised you post-credit scenes, so I'm gonna deliver your post-credit scenes. So here to reenact all of the post-credit scenes, I present to you Nigel's Theatre. It used to be that being a god meant something. People used to put some respect on our names. They used to beg us for mercy without ever knowing if we were even listening. Now they look to the sky and don't ask us for lightning. They don't ask us for rain. They just want to see all of their so-called superheroes. When did we become a joke to them? I don't like that shit. I swear on my name, they will feel us again when Thor Odinson falls from the sky. Do you understand me, Hercules?
Why, yes, Father. I understand completely.
Oh, what's happened? I was just dying in Thor's arms a minute ago, but I don't feel so dead anymore.
Jane Foster, you sexy little minx, get your ass over here.
Heimdall, is that you?
You bet your sweet little ass it is. And sorry to break it to you, but you're dead now too. But look on the bright side. You get to spend eternity in paradise here with me in Valhalla. I mean, at least until Marvel decides to continue on with your storyline in the movies and bring you back as a reincarnated Valkyrie, that is.
Yay!